All right, and on this week's Who's Who of the Joshua Perry Show, we got a good friend of mine, somebody Buckeye Nation will recognize for sure. Cardale 12 Gauge Jones is in the house for an interview. What's going on, man?
What's up, Josh, man? Thanks for having me. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Josh. It's Joshua.
Oh,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on. This will be an interesting one. I feel like there are a lot of folks who have a perception about Cardale Jones based off of old tweets, based off of stories that are like half true. And so when we dive into this, I think it'll be fun for folks to really get to know the real you. So let's start it off right off the top with your OSU career. You went to prep school before you enrolled at Ohio State, and you were not recruited by Urban Meyer, if I have that correct.
No, I wasn't actually recruited by the staff. Everything happened, and it's hard to get into so many details about my time at Ohio State, definitely how I got there, because I don't know if you noticed now, I'm writing a book, and it's going to be about my time at Ohio State. It's going to highlight a lot of things that, you was going through behind the scenes, a lot of things that, people might have thought that was on the surface that was definitely not the case. So this interview will be a little hard to kind of get into some of those type of details. But yeah, no, I wasn't recruited by his staff. I was actually recruited by Coach Trussell and his staff, and I was actually going on record as the last recruit to commit to Coach Trussell. And how everything happened with, as the media would call it, the tattoo scandal. What was that, 2010, 2011?
Yep.
So, yeah, in prep school, actually, with Mike Thomas was my freaking roommate. And, yeah, so we go to freaking, went to prep school, and then Coach Fick was the intern head coach at the time. So, they were still recruiting me. The whole staff was still there. Taver Johnson was my recruiting coach,
Yep.
Who had the Cleveland area. And everything was looking good still through prep school. And then Coach Myers named the head coach. I think maybe after they played the team up north, they lost to the team up north, so it was getting ready for the Gator Bowl. And this is when Coach Meyer was named the head coach, and clearly it was known that he was going to bring his own staff in. So this is when, a week or so, no, maybe roughly a month or so before I was supposed to step on campus, we get a whole new staff.
It was definitely strange because I was the first recruit to commit in the 2012 class. So I had been recruited by the old staff as well. And I had continuity because Luke was still there, Luke Fickle. So just from that standpoint, it was a little bit easy for me to transition in there. But I know that transition had to be tough. You've got obviously Urban, who wasn't a guy that recruited you, and then you're playing for Tom Herman in this offense that's like completely wide open, spread everything. What was the adjustment like when you got on campus?
It was, I wouldn't say it was tough because I was still recruited by a lot of schools that ran a spread style offense. My main concern was the amount of times that Coach Meyer was known for loving to run the quarterback. And that was not necessarily my forte. Like when I say I have ability to run, it's more of like a play breaking down, scramble, things like that, other than design 12 to 14 to 15, 16 runs specifically for the quarterback. I'm just not that type of player. And having that player already on campus, Braxton at the time, was like, okay, well, he's destined to be the guy for the next, however long he decided to be here. And I'm only a year behind him. I'm almost, pretty much screwed.
It's interesting to hear. So I know you're going to cover this in your book, so you don't have to go into all the details of it. But we got that tweet I got to ask you about, the play in school tweet. And we've kind of had the conversation behind the scenes a little bit too. It created a little bit of a, who is this guy? I think that was in 2012. So it was our first year on campus. Like, who is this guy? Quarterback hasn't played, very immature. But it wasn't necessarily an immature moment. Like it was a little bit more in depth than what was on the surface of the tweet.
Yeah, for sure. And like I took a lot of heat clearly for that tweet. I think if I would have expressed what I felt in a better way, that message could have completely pole vaulted my career outside of football, especially being a younger player. Because with the right, how anything, with the right words, the message can have a lot of power and can reach so many different people. But I didn't have the right words to say the least of expressing my frustrations at that point. And actually, I tweeted a tweet because, it was early in the morning. I was getting some grades back from one of my exams, and actually, it was getting a B plus on something. And I felt like, I was busting my butt at that point. It was my first, was actually technically the first semester, but we got in Ohio State on the last 2 quarters.
Yep.
So right before the school transitioned to semester. So I got an exam back, and I feel like I should have got a higher grade because I put a lot of time, energy, and effort into it. And I was just frustrated, man. I was just extremely frustrated, at my grade. And, I tried to talk to the professor at the class, and, I didn't have an opportunity to. And it was that was just a breaking point. I was frustrated.
No, it's so funny thinking back though, and like knowing you on a personal level too. Like it's especially funny because like I understand like that's Cardale is not the guy who's like, oh man, like screw school, all this kind of stuff. It's like
Exactly.
I knew that that's because we had classes together. Like I watched you show up to class every day and like work hard, so I can understand that for sure. It's just a lot of people on the outside looking in are probably like, man, who the hell is this guy tweeting like that?
Exactly. And like I said before, definitely should have expressed my message and frustrations in a differently way. And looking back on it, I definitely wouldn't have put it on social media, any frustrations that I was feeling at the time. But it definitely gave me the perception that I didn't take school serious, that us as student athletes, as a football program, didn't take school serious. And I don't know if you remember, but it was the next day. It was getting ready to play out Nebraska. It was their first year in the Big Ten, night game, both teams undefeated. Even though we couldn't play for a bowl game in that season, there was still a lot of hype put up around that game. And the next day, we have practice on Sundays and stuff like that.
Yep.
So we have a big win, and we're going through the practice before the younger guys stay out and practice more. And Coach Myers talking to the team afterwards, and he just let me have it in front of everyone. Like, I got to deal with a freshman quarterback who would never play here, making national news and attention and all this.
That is hilarious.
I'm just looking like,
man, and Coach was known to go in too. Like I don't think people understand, like his philosophy was he was going to put you on blast in the team meeting, after practice, whatever it was.
Any opportunity could.
Any opportunity. And that was a terrible time to get put on blast too, because what you're talking about, so we played games on Saturdays, obviously. We would come in Sundays. You'd work out on Sunday, you'd watch the tape, and then we'd go out and everybody would practice. And it would be an hour-long practice for the guys who played in the game. We would do some corrections. We would do a little bit of 7-on-7, just like flush your legs out. But if you were a guy who was a freshman or a guy who didn't play in the game, Urban would make you take your pads out and put them to the side of the field. And we would do like a full practice on a Sunday. Like the sun would be down before we would walk back in. Hitting. And quarterbacks were live too.
Hitting. Don't say quarterbacks were live. I was live.
Cardale was live.
I was live. I was live. People don't realize I was live for my first – I spent 4 years in college. I was live for my first 3.
Dude, you remember in spring practice, I think it was Kyle Dotson
didn't block. Say it.
I was on a blitz. I smacked Cardale. I felt so bad too, because you were playing behind like just a terrible O-line. It was like the 3rd string O-line. It's just like, I love those guys, but some of them just had no idea what was going on, and they had you live. It was bad.
Dude, it was times my true freshman year, or our true freshman year, where I remember like it was like yesterday. We had some injuries to the offensive line as far as the backup guys getting injured. Because if you remember, our freshman and redshirt freshman year, them practices after them Sunday after practice, we had guys like Najee Murray, like at the time Amani Reeves, like who was right now the kickoff, who was major parts of the kickoff and special teams, who were, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th string DBs at this time. But they was, like I said, major in our special teams. And they were getting hurt during them practices that we had, like tearing ACLs and all type of crazy stuff that was happening, because we will go out, shorts and jerseys and helmets for the corrections, but we would have to bring our shoulder pads. So we was tackling with nothing on our lower body, hitting.
Yeah.
And looking, at the time, yes, it almost sucked, but it didn't, because we didn't get to play. So it was an opportunity to play.
And that was the deal. Like for me, I was on some of the special teams units. I really didn't play very much at all. And our linebackers were thin and we were bad. like 2012, 2013, our linebacker group was not good. So I definitely needed those reps. But like to your point, dudes were really getting torn up out there. It was
Guys
it
were
was a wild time.
going down every other week. Guys were going down, and I
Yeah.
mean, I loved it because it was fun, and you know, we playing live game situation. Oh, spot, you know, as soon as the older guys get a break, okay, young guys, spot the ball, let's go.
Yep. Man, no, it was real scrimmage too. It was move the ball.
Yeah,
Yeah, we were going. So,
yeah,
all
for
right,
sure.
I get back on track here. So we'll fast forward a little bit. Coming into your third year at Ohio State, Braxton goes down during training camp. Eventually, toward the end of the season, JT's down, and you have to step in. And again, this is like an outside perception, a little bit coming from inside the program, just by I think the way that coaches presented you to the media a little bit. But it was like, who was this guy? Third string quarterback, immature moments in the past. We had the second string guy is a year younger than him, so he's far from ready. Like, we had all this stuff swirling around. But for us inside the building, the players specifically, I don't feel like we had any type of worries about you going into the game. So what was your transition like getting thrust into the starting role that late into the year?
I mean, I continue to go about the way I handle my business. I mean, each and every like people fail to realize like I was named the backup. So when Braxton, let's rewind a little bit. When Braxton went down in the Orange Bowl, and we knew he wasn't going to go, for spring ball, and Kenny was just leaving, our backup was just leaving.
Yep.
That spring ball, no matter what, if Braxton was going to play or not, we was looking for a backup between me and JT. To my understanding, I won that battle of being the backup. And going out of spring ball, because me and him was splitting reps with the ones and twos in spring ball, and going into camp, Urban decided to open the competition back up, which whatever his reason was and whatever, let's go. Competition gonna make guys better,
Mm-hmm.
still for the backup spot, but we was under the assumption that Braxton was going to play. Then, like you said, Braxton went down, and then now we're not looking for a backup. It's, oh crap, we're looking for a starter.
Right.
And to my understanding, like I said before, it was a close battle. However, whatever was a deciding factor, clearly the coaches made the right decision. You look out, see how JT career turned out. Definitely had an unbelievable chance to win the Heisman that year as a redshirt freshman. The battle was still close. So I continue to prepare like a starter. I continue to freaking, understand that the way that we play the position at quarterback, you still legit a snap away. Just looking at, years before when Braxton would get banged up for a couple of plays, even if it's one or two plays, you
Sure.
need to be ready no matter what. So I kept that mentality. So getting thrust into the game, yeah, because of injury or whatever the case it might have been, if I had the opportunity to present itself, I think I'd have been good either way. But to your point, I didn't feel any panic. I didn't feel any doubt within no one, on our team,
Yeah.
because you guys were with me every day in practice. I mean, you guys knew what I was capable of. A lot of the times I'm down there with the scout team going against the number one defense, and I would like to think that, my preparation, I was playing against the best defense in the country every day in practice.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go into practice taking that shit lightly. Excuse my language, but
No, it's all good.
each and every day I was going in there like, okay, this is my game.
Right.
This is these guys. I'm getting better reps than JT because I'm going against Joey Bosa, Joshua Perry, freaking Curtis Grant, Stevie Miller, Dolphus Washington, freaking Tyvis Powell, Duran Grant, Eli Apple, Gary Alcon. I'm going against these guys every day.
Yep. No, and
So,
it's interesting though, because like I don't think people understood how close it was, because like that's why we were confident, is we saw the preparation every day. And then number two, it's so weird. People were acting like you hadn't been in the quarterback meeting room all year too, getting the same information as Braxton and JT. Like, it's so strange when people talk like, oh man, is he going to be ready? He's been preparing all year. What do you mean, is he going to be ready? It's time to play ball.
Yeah, and then like to your point and to the testament to the coaching staff, you had no choice but to be ready. Think about the situations you got thrust into when you were younger. Think about the situations that a lot of guys that got pushed into, due to maybe injuries or due to cramps or whatever it may be. If it's just a short-term period, one or two plays, no one noticed anything because the team didn't skip a beat, because we are built that way to be ready when your number's called. Think about all the situations. And when we used to go good on good and out of nowhere, coach would scream, Joshua broke his shoelace. Back up, get in.
Yep.
Or Taylor Decker, he got a earpiece malfunction. Somebody got to get out for a play. So he keeping guys on their toes, making sure when you even not even in, you are getting those mental reps and understanding what you got to do in each and every play.
100%. And to that point too, because I think it was a really unique structure to our practice, because we would do that on scrimmage days. It'd be good on good, and all of a sudden somebody who's a starter is down. It was the same thing for us in the meeting room. Urban ran the special teams meeting, and so all the starters sat in the front row, and then your backup sat right behind you. And in the meeting, he would say such and such is down, and the backup had to be able to verbalize all of the calls, all of the assignments, everything else. And so it was constantly preparing everybody to be ready to step into the game when their number was called.
Exactly. And if you can look at some of our film, and I'm pretty sure, if you had access to some of our film, you will see when the offense is going, the first offense was going, and not just me, and I actually pick up this from Kenny Guyton. When the offense was going, the quarterback was in, Kenny was probably about 5 to 7 yards behind the quarterback, behind the offense, going through his drop. He getting the signal from the sideline, going through his drop, going through his progression, going through his read. And you will see sometimes that Braxton or whoever the quarterback might have been at that point, so let's just get me and JT, for example, he was in, and whatever the play was Astro, and he took the backside answer, or I took the check down, you will see him going through his progression. He getting a live rep, and then I'm going through my progression in the back, and I might have went somewhere else. And Coach Herman used to coach like both of us on the same play, even though I wasn't getting that physical rep. He's like, Cardale, why did you just check that one down? Or why did you do that? Why you doing that? Clearly, you're not getting that big as the best picture because you're not right there in it, but you're still going through a game speed. And I remember we used to have recruits come in or other coaches come in and watch, as we going through practice, how that stuff used to be in camp. And they like, what the heck is the quarterback's doing back there? He's getting his rep.
Yep. And that's how we did it on defense too. Like Luke Fickle was a stickler. Linebackers would stand behind, and he would want you to do all the signals. He would want you to make the checks, and then he would want you to take your first 2 steps on the play. And it was the same thing too. He would coach off of the tape of the guys doing the mental reps in the back.
Exactly.
It's tough because in a football season, there's only so many live reps you want to get your guys anyway, because you want them to be fresh. And the ability to coach off of those reps, I think, is really what set us apart. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like it definitely gave us an edge. So simple question, probably complex answer, as Urban would say. How would you describe that national title playoff run?
As a team, I would describe it as, in a way, clearly you go out every day and play a game to expect to win every game. That's how you prepare. But I don't think it was as shocking as everybody from the outside looking in made it. We were a really, really good team and believed that we were going to win every game and every snap and every play we stepped on the field. So I'm not saying we were expected to be in that situation, expected to win, but we kind of were. It was still a magical moment. You can't take that away. But it was definitely one of my, if not the top moment in my, sporting career, because of how everything transpired, not just with me, but as a team overall, how much we got better from the beginning to the season to the end.
Yep. No, I tend to agree with that too. And it was definitely that mentality of, it doesn't matter who we're lining up against. Like, I remember all the media folks talking about when we had to play Alabama, and it was David and Goliath, really. Like, we had no chance. They were too fast. They were too big. They had Amari Cooper. Offense was too good. Derrick Henry. They had all those guys on defense. They had Lane Kiffin, who was calling plays on. Like, it was everything. And we're sitting back, and I don't want to get too far into some of the commentary, but it was basically, fuck those guys. Like, they're not going, nobody's dictating the outcome of the game before we play it.
Exactly. And it's funny because we had every excuse. We had every excuse to lie down for anybody we play, especially going into the season, losing Braxton, then losing JT, then playing, me having no experience at all with the first start in the Big Ten championship game. We had every excuse with Costa passing away. We had every excuse to pretty much turn it off and really just, let all that outside influence, all that outside noise. And as an athlete, you try not to listen to it, but you hear it, it's there. And honestly, I'm going to be real, from that point, from that run that we went through as a team, I still don't like a lot of the commentators because of the way, not just the way they were counting us, not just because they was counting us out and going with another team, just the
Yeah.
disrespect, just the blatant
Yes.
disrespect that they were giving us, through the whole run. It was crazy, and I'm still not a fan of a lot of them guys. And
That is hilarious.
Not
Ain't
holding
nothing wrong with
grudges,
holding that
but
grudge though.
yeah, not holding grudges, but
That is hilarious. All right, so 2015 was a strange year, to the point where we didn't know who was going to be taking that first snap against Virginia Tech in Blacksburg in the first game until that first drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what was that year? How do you describe what transpired throughout that year?
I mean, I would say strange as well. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly, strange is an understatement because, it's weird when looking back on the year before when we named our starter, I think they named JT the starter, maybe the final, not necessarily named him, but you can tell he was going to be the starter maybe the final week in camp because he was taking all the reps with the ones,
right.
and doing a lot of things that, was fitting to his skill set. But it wasn't like that in 2015. Me and her was still taking all the reps, splitting all the reps with the ones and the twos. And, the game plan would have been the same no matter what,
Sure.
far as what we attacked on offense. And usually, so it was strange for me personally because I had a new quarterback coach. We had a new coordinator. Coach Warner took over the play calling.
Yeah.
And to me, what I was used to in our room was Tom Herman. He called plays to settle the offensive line and to settle the quarterback and get him kind of adjusted and early and get all the jitters out, and vice versa. Coach Warner was in my opinion, the type to get the offensive line going and things like that. But Coach Herman's mindset and philosophy of offense is that the quarterback is the engine. He's a tempo. The offense is only going to go as far as the quarterback takes him.
Right.
And of course, the offensive line has a huge part of that, but it's almost like let's get our quarterback going and everything else is going to feed off of that. And like I said, Warner to me he was vice versa. It was like, run the ball here. Okay, well, 2nd and 8, run the ball here. Okay, third and 7. Okay, quarterback, go throw it, go make a play.
Yeah.
Like, 7. Okay,
okay.
But it was just definitely strange because we had me and JT came back on top of Braxton having another year eligibility, not knowing what position he was going to play, right. and everything that the coach was trying to do to get him incorporated in the offense and all the talent we had. It was like we had so much talent we wasted it on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, that was a difficult year for me to reconcile with too. And I'll say, like, defensively, I felt like we took a little while to actually get on track too, because we had too many guys, man. Like, everybody was trying to get theirs, and like coach was trying to make sure like Darren could get his blitz and I could get mine, Raekwon could get his, but like, we got to make sure we get Joey on the twist so he can get freed up and get some like super weird year. So I can definitely vibe with that. It was just a lot of settling back in.
Some things that we did because we noticed that I don't know if you remember, but I remember like it was yesterday. It was our first scrimmage in camp, and the offense looked like dog crap, and we looked at all these guys. We had the Jalen Marshalls, the Curtis Samuels, the Zekes, the JTs, and all this other stuff, and y'all crushed us. And not just because of Joey was dominating. It wasn't even just that. Y'all just crushed us on the back end to the front end because, in my opinion, the offense and the coach was trying to make everybody happy. Sure. Oh, let's make sure we get Mike his touches. Let's make sure we get Jalen his touches. Let's make sure we get, everybody these touches. And it's one football. Oh, don't forget, we got to get Braxton the ball too, and two quarterbacks we're dealing with. So y'all freaking crushed us. And I remember talking to Coach Beck about it. I was like, hey, man, there's only one ball, and there's going to be games that we understand that we might have to run the ball 50 times to give it to Zeke 50 times to win it, and we might have to throw it 50 times, and he got to suck up his pride. So even though we expressed that as players, I don't think the coaches really never, took that and ran with it because it was still almost like, let me get him the ball, make sure he get a touch, let me keep everybody happy instead of trying to win the game.
Well, it's always funny though, because you actually hear Urban talk about that, where he said he would sit in the hotels on Friday night and he would have all the offensive skill players like the roster, and he would do tick marks next to the guys like, how many touches do I feel like I need to get this guy this week? Not and it's like to make the guy happy to a certain point, but also like how many touches to be successful. But when you go down that list and you name 7, 8 guys, you
It's
can't you like what
it's one football.
one football.
Well, football. Yeah, we had plays like because the quarterbacks, we met in offensive staff room where they do a lot of the game planning, drawing up the plays on a whiteboard and stuff like that. And we didn't, like, we used to have plays when Herman was there calling the plays. We had plays by situations.
Sure.
This is this. We had plays by players.
That's
Oh,
wild.
okay. These are the plays we're going to run with 4 in a game. This is the plays we're going to run with 1 in a game. This place we're going to run with 15. And we just look, I used to get stuff like, what are we doing, guys? Like, this would not, like, and then all the little gimmicks we try to do,
Right.
because Curtis wasn't your traditional between
No.
the hashes, between the tackles, running back. And the things
Nope.
we try to do to get him the ball, put him at quarterback sometimes, or run on the spot. I remember it was a play, man. It was a play we practiced for 2 weeks, and we ran it. Oh, my God. I think we ran it versus Illinois, I think. I cannot remember who we ran it against. Indiana. It might have been Indiana. And it was like Curtis was at quarterback, and we were so convinced that the DN was going to take Zeke on a speed option, but it was a keeper the whole way, and the guy didn't take Zeke, and he got tackled. We spent 2 weeks on this play, and then we got 1 yard. And guess what? It was so funny because the play literally got 1 yard, and it was like, because I wasn't there, it was Curtis at quarterback, so I'm just like, man, what the? I just went off. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, he took some of my reps in practice to get ready for this.
Man, it's so crazy hearing some of that though. Like I saw what I saw on the defensive side of the ball, but like y'all did your thing, y'all had your meetings, y'all had your practices, and like I wasn't in tune with that kind of stuff. But just like over the years, hearing about like how some of the practices went and like what the philosophy was, and then how it actually played out. It is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's crazy. And to things that we still, I mean, it's hard to kind of reminisce and say what could have happened, but, we still go out and crush Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl and still, everybody, oh, hey, well, golly, now we got to go watch some teams that wasn't of our caliber go play because we would have crushed Alabama. That wouldn't have been a game in 15.
Yeah,
wouldn't have been
Michigan State got smacked too, for people who don't remember
that's what I'm saying. They got smacked,
Yeah.
but if we'd ended up playing them, it wouldn't have been a game. We would have destroyed them.
We would have.
And then I don't even know who played it was Clemson versus Alabama. I think they played in the national title game. And I would like to believe that Clemson would have been a nice little spanking as well because, I mean, thinking about how they struggled with Notre Dame early in the year and we just mollywopped them. But
right.
It sucks that we didn't put ourselves in better position at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. All right. Getting a little low on time, so I'll ask you these last few questions. How do you reconcile with your career in the NFL? What's the overall, I guess, tone when you talk about your career there?
I mean, I would like to clearly still have one, and I'm still kind of pursuing that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely different from college. You see all the ins and outs that plays into to affect that why guys get chances or why guys on certain teams or why guys in certain positions and things like that. And it's interesting. It's almost a game within a game. But it's definitely something I'm still pursuing. And definitely, it just take the right opportunity and a team and situation for me to really jump on and really feel comfortable with.
And that's I think the biggest thing is that word opportunity, because they're slim in the NFL, and then coaches and GMs and decision makers are funny people because they want their guys. Like if you were somebody's guy and wherever, and that coach goes to a different place and you're on the street, they're going to take the person that they're familiar with over the person that might actually be a little bit more talented, because coaches want to be in control of their careers too. These guys get fired and recycled all over the place. And so if they can say, like, I've been around this guy, I know how he works, I trust him, maybe he's not as good, that's the guy who's going to get the nod. So it's a really strange environment, I think, a lot of times. And talent does prevail, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer to build that rapport and to build that trust for the talent to prevail in certain situations. So I think it's
Yeah, no,
interesting,
yeah,
interesting hearing that.
yeah, you definitely right. Definitely all about, who you know and who you play for. I think it plays a big part because, if especially on the offensive side of the ball, especially on the quarterback,
Yep.
because if I'm an offensive coordinator, if I'm offensive minded coaches and I get fired and I had Cardale Jones in freaking LA and I get a job at Tennessee and it's guys that I might be looking for a backup or a guy to come in and compete for the spot. Well, I'm gonna get the guys that I know is familiar with my system because it's
Yep.
going to take less coaching and he's going to pick it up faster and he's going to get things rolling because that's a huge part, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is just getting guys lined up in the communication and verbiage because every different system you go to is like learning another language.
Yep.
Yeah, the concepts and things might be the same, but you got to learn the language. And a lot of people don't really understand that, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And you get a guy like a Tom Brady who's been in the system for 20 plus years, then he goes to another one. And now, like I said, same thing you run in pretty much, but it's just different. It's just the way you communicate it. And he was talking about how big of a challenge that was, even though he's a 20 plus year vet, just it's literally learning another language. And that's why you usually see when you think about the quarterback position and offensive guys, you see the guys that's been in a system for X amount of years, the same system had the most success because it's second nature to them. You don't
Yep.
have to spend all that time in OTAs and stuff like that, installing and learning new offense and learning new verbiage. You just pretty much fine tuning and focusing more on the defense and how do you beat certain coverages and schemes and stuff like that.
No, that's awesome. Last question is you got a book coming out that you're writing. Um, Super exciting to hear that. It's going to be one of the first things I pick up. I'm an avid reader, so I'll pick the book up. What can we expect to see when we flip through the pages of that book?
A lot of pictures. No, I'm joking. Um, I think I just got done laying the foundation of pretty much how I got to Ohio State. I speak about a little bit about Fort Union, a little bit about my upbringings, but I don't want it to focus on that. It's going to clearly focus on, my time at Ohio State, emphasizing, the national championship year in 2015 and my relationship with the coaches. I think a lot of people will be shocked of pretty much who I really am. A lot of
Yeah,
people will be shocked on why some of my decisions that I make and the relationship that I had with some of the coaches. And I think a lot of people, well, I guarantee you, everybody's going to be shocked about me and Coach my relationship,
sure.
especially when I was in school. So I'm excited to kind of share that. But the book goal is pretty much to, inspire or pretty much give that next recruit hope that because granted, I am the average recruit
Right.
that's going to go through some of the things that they're going to go through in college. When you
Right.
get there, not playing right away,
Yep.
dealing with probably getting beat out, or someone younger than you, or the coach is bringing in a guy to replace you or recruit past you. That
Yep.
was me in college, and some luck and injuries and perseverance played a part of me finally having an opportunity to play. But think about all the guys who go to all these major universities, and we've seen it at Ohio State, year in and year out, that was highly recruited, but got recruited past because maybe that 1 year, that one opportunity that they had, that slim opportunity they had, didn't pan out for them.
Right.
And guys second guess themselves, or step away from football or transfer, and guys you just never hear from again. I was that guy. Jalen Marshall take the handoff. I'm that guy.
Right.
Jalen Marshall take the handoff from JT. JT don't run it up in the gut. I'm that guy. I never get the ball.
Right.
I might transfer. No telling what I did.
Yeah.
So the book is pretty much just helping, hopefully it's just to help that next guy really stay into it and hopefully give some coaches and some mentors aspects of pretty much, not avoiding the signs when a player is dealing with depression or
Sure.
dealing with, adversity and things like that. Don't, how it is, these major universities. Only players who really get all that main attention and we worried about is the guys who pretty much help winning games.
Right. No, that's it's going to be a great book. I'm looking forward to picking it up when it comes out. And I'm excited for you to be able to share your story and share with other people because one of the things that I think that you do very well is you impact people, whether that's because of, you being a funny guy who wants to heighten people like that, whether it's you sharing stories from your past because you've been through a lot and you can impact people that way. It's going to be fantastic. So looking forward to that. And I really do appreciate you coming on the podcast. I think a lot of people really enjoy this interview. So appreciate you, bro.
Oh, no, thanks for having me, dude. Seriously.
Yeah. All right, man.
Have a good one, Josh.